Hi, and welcome to More Human, More Resources, the HR podcast for entrepreneurs. I'm Vicki Brown, your host and CEO of Vidamaneo Enterprises. As a serial entrepreneur, I understand that having the right expert help has been critical to my success. That's why I'm dedicated to telling you, in plain language, what's going on in the world of HR that might impact your business and what you need to do about it, with real actionable tips to help you master that list of must-dos and grow your leadership muscle. First things first, the information contained in this podcast is provided for general purposes only and is not to be considered legal advice. Your decision to adopt or not adopt any practice or procedure mentioned in this podcast is solely yours, and we bear no responsibility for the outcome. We urge you to always consult legal counsel and other appropriate licensed professionals. And with that, let's get into the show. You're listening to Season 5, Episode 30. You know, most people think being a manager is about giving instructions. You tell someone what to do, they go do it, you check it, and that's that. But here's the truth. If you stop there, you're not leading, you're just supervising. If you're running a small business, especially if you've hired your first few employees, then you've probably already realized something. Giving tasks isn't enough. You're still the one solving the problems, cleaning up the messes, and carrying the pressure of everything. And that's just not sustainable. Because at some point, if your team doesn't grow, you won't either. Coaching is how you get out of that loop. It's how you start building a team that can think, act, and lead without needing you to handhold every step of the way. You didn't start your business to become everyone's backup plan. You started it to make an impact, to build something. And part of building something is helping people step into their own capability. That's what coaching is. It's not a formal program. It's not a certification. It's not even about having long sit-down sessions. It's about choosing to invest in your people in a way that creates ownership, not just compliance. So let's talk about what that actually means. First, let's separate managing from coaching. Oh, they're related, but not the same. Managing is about oversight. Are the tasks getting done? Are the outcomes being met? You're watching their work. But coaching is about development. Are your people growing? Do they understand their work? Are they building confidence and skills so they don't need you to shadow every decision? You see, managers focus on outcome. Coaches focus on the person behind the outcome. And the shift from one to the other, well, that's the difference between a team that can only follow instructions and a team that can lead without you. Here's what I've seen, especially with first-time leaders. We think we're supposed to have all the answers, that being in charge means being the smartest person in the room. That's a trap. You don't need to be the answer machine. What your team needs more than your answers is your questions. Let's talk about the core skills that make someone a strong coach. And again, I'm talking about small business leadership, not HR performance reviews or big corporate templates. The first one is active listening. Now, that means you're not half listening while you plan your response. You're really hearing what the person is saying and what they're not saying. You're tuned in. You're not rushing to solve the problem. You're letting them unpack it. Second, you've got to ask better questions. Not, did you send the email, but what's getting in the way of you following up with the client? Not, why didn't you finish this? But, what do you think you needed to be successful here? You see, these questions create space for reflection. They give the employee room to take responsibility without being backed into a corner. Now that's coaching. It's about growing problem solvers, not managing task runners. Third, let's talk about feedback. Most people either avoid it entirely or drop it like a hammer when something goes wrong. Neither of those builds trust. Feedback that actually supports growth sounds more like, can I offer a suggestion that might help next time? Or can we look at this together and see what we could do differently? The tone matters. The intention matters. This isn't about blame. It's about getting better together. And finally, goal setting. You don't just drop a goal on someone and hope for the best. Coaching means helping them define what success looks like and making sure they own it. That ownership is key. When someone sets their own milestone, they're more invested in hitting it. You're there to guide, but not dictate. Now, here's where I see a lot of small business leaders get tripped up. They treat coaching like an event, one sit-down conversation, one awkward check-in, and then back to business. But real coaching, it's not a one-and-done thing. It's not a calendar block. It's a habit. It lives in your quick updates, your Slack messages, your walk and talks in the hallway. Coaching happens in the moments you normally brush past. The end of a meeting. How did that go? Conversation. A follow-up after a missed deadline. Think of it like a series of small deposits. Not dramatic, not fancy, not flashy, but consistent. And over time, it builds something powerful. It builds trust, awareness, and independence. And that's where transformation lives. And no, you don't need a coaching certification to do this. You don't need a leadership course. What you need is intention. You need to show up with the mindset that developing your team is part of your job, not extra credit. In fact, one of the most powerful coaching moves you can make in a small business is the 10-minute debrief. After a project, after a client call, after something, difficult, you don't need a script. Just ask, what worked? What didn't? What would you do differently next time? Even asking, what do you need from me to be successful this week, can change the entire relationship. That one question signals that you see their growth as important. It tells them you're not here just to measure their input. You're here to support their progress. Now, let's be real. This is not always easy, especially if you're used to doing it all yourself, especially if you're faster and more experienced and think, it's just easier if I do it. But when you always jump in and fix, you rob your people of the chance to learn, and you keep yourself stuck as the fire extinguisher instead of the leader. Another mistake I see, giving advice too fast. You hear half the issue, and you're already offering a fix. Slow down. Ask more. Understand the root cause. Sometimes what people need isn't a solution. They need to be heard, and they need to think it through. And please don't treat coaching like it's optional, like it's something you'll do once things calm down. Coaching is the work. It's not a detour. It's the main road. It's what turns a task taker into a trusted partner. It's what buys you back your time. And yes, it might feel awkward and slow and clunky at first. That's all normal. That means you're learning too. So here's your move. Pick one team member. In your next one-on-one, ask one coaching style question, just one. Then stop talking. Let them think. Let them own it. Then do it again next week and again after that. Start to build the habit. Don't wait for something to go wrong. Coach the good. Reinforce what's working. Celebrate their growth. That's how you build confidence. That's how you build leaders. I'll leave you with this. You're not just someone's boss. You might be the first person who ever took their potential seriously. You might be the reason they step up, they speak up, and grow up professionally. Coaching isn't soft. It's strategic. It builds resilience. It builds trust. And it builds the kind of team you can actually count on, even when you're not in the room. And the better you coach, the less everything has to run through you. It's not just good leadership. That's the future of your business. If you found this information helpful, please leave a review and tell a friend. Thanks for spending the time. Until next week, same time, same place.